This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
All right. I am here to call into session the Design Review Board meeting February 3rd, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. City of Bisbee. And I'll do a quick roll call. Peter Gaffer.
Present.
Stephen Green.
Yeah.
Yvette Ponte.
Here.
Scott Perfect.
Here.
Linda Santayenas.
Here.
And lovely, I'm here. Shonda Kramer.
Here.
And Frank Davis, City Council Liaison. See him here. And Teresa Coleman, Staff Liaison.
Okay.
All right. The intent of the Design Review Board process as applied within the Bisbee Historic District is to improve and encourage uses leading to the conservation and or rehabilitation of buildings, structures, sites, objects, and spaces within the historic district while allowing for a vibrant, creative, and livable community. Encourage harmonious growth and orderly development. Assure that future settings, design, and construction will be corresponded to and enhance the visual characteristics of the district. And D, prevent construction, alteration, or remodeling from occurring in a manner that would be detrimental to the historic or visual characteristics of the district. Call to the public for any items that are not on the agenda. Items that are in the agenda can wait until that item comes up. So call to public for anything that's not on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, I would like to, before we start old business, I would like to make a motion to move items 2 and 3. Items 2 and 3 to the end because I think those might take longer and I want to have other people not wait around. To after agenda item 8. Oh, sorry, after agenda item 9, I mean. So we'll
Ben,
move,
are those all old business? No. Agenda, your new business starts with agenda item 5.
Okay.
And these are old business.
That has to stay within that classification.
Right. You could move the old business to after new business.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we do that? That'll speed things up for a lot of people.
Okay.
So, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to put the new business items before the old business items.
I'll second that.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Okay. New
And
business.
was Yvette the second? Yvette, did you second that?
No, I did not.
Linda.
Linda, thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Okay. Okay. So application 2101, Bisbee Residential Historic District contributing property BI 28, located at 30 Main Street. Applicant Craig Reese and Ann Bush, represented by Brian Hope. So, Brian, I see you're here. Did you want to? Yeah. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, the property owners, Craig and Ann, are unable to be here tonight. Asked me to convey their regards. They're relocating from California to Bisbee, purchased 30 Main, and wish to make the second floor apartment their primary residence. as part of that, they want to increase their living area out the back to create an outdoor area by constructing a second floor balcony on the Commerce Street side of the building. We're going with a fully fire resistant construction. I went for a kind of almost an industrial design to it because of its location on Commerce Street, which kind of has an alley-esque look and feel to it. So we went industrial and somewhat Victorian in the balustrade. We have reason to believe that there was previously a balcony of sorts at that location. I can't prove it, but indicators are there. The existing man doors that are there, the elevations at the floor behind indicate that that wasn't new. That was original to the building. And the watershed bricks at that opening are slanted, and there is chipping and wear on the top surface consistent with foot traffic. I think that's really all I can describe for you. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question, Brian. Will this be used as a fire escape for a ladder truck or
No,
fire department?
no, it is not an egress balcony.
Okay. Could in the case of a fire, just like a window, an operable window on the second floor, I guess it could still be used as such, or?
It could still be used as such if you'll refer to the elevations of the building. The finished floor elevation of the balcony is at 13.5. So one could jump from that in the event of a fire. If you were to jump onto the SUV pictured there, you're only going down 6 feet. So also fully accessible to any fire or rescue personnel who would have to go in that way.
Are there any public comments? To speak on this? Seeing none. Public commenting is closed. I'd like to call to the board for discussion.
My only comment, Ben, is and Brian, is that I think it's a very bold move, and I think it's going to make a major improvement to the alley. I hope this sort of precipitates further cleanup of is it Commerce Street?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's terrific. I wish them well. I wish the project well.
I agree with Peter. I think it's going to look beautiful compared to what's there today.
I don't know how much. I mean, your drawings, Brian, are much nicer than reality, and I don't know how much of the utilities you'll be able to clear off. Some of them are probably immovable, but boy, if you could actually recreate the image, it would look like set a very high standard for the street.
Well, that's certainly the goal. The images that you're looking at were created via building information modeling, and they are to scale in every respect with real materials. So that is the goal, to build what you're seeing there.
Any other comments?
I have a comment, Ben.
Oh, okay.
I'm just curious about the property lines. Is the balcony actually going right up to the property line, and in that case is a variance possibly needed? I was looking at the zoning code today regarding this, which says that if this is still accurate, we probably would need the building inspector to comment. balconies and stairs other than as required under the building and safety code, porches and decks may not project closer than 2 feet from the property boundary. So I'm just curious with the plans if that's already been factored in.
Yeah, if I may, we have factored that in on another project. We had a similar problem with a projection, and that's, if you'll refer to the plot plan sheet C100, that's where the fire separation distances come into play. It's going back to building code, which you really don't deal with, but in the definitions of the building code, we can either measure from the property line or from that fire separation line. And in this case, it's half the distance of the road. So we have met all applicable code. And yeah, if Mr. Ward is here, would like to comment on that, I'll stand corrected if necessary.
I do see Joe Ward on here, but he's muted, so I don't know if he's trying to talk or not. I would say that many of the other properties on either side have similar balconies. Some are wood, some are metal, some are fire escapes, some are like sun balconies. And actually, there's an incomplete balcony on this building right now that looks like it was built without a permit or was never finished or something. So it's definitely not like for like, I can tell you that. But
oh, we in no way want to go like for like, Ben. What's there was done on amateur night after happy hour. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other comments?
It's Stephen Green here. Looking at the photographs and also looking at the building, I would agree with the general opinion that there was some kind of structure there in the past, and probably something similar to what's being proposed. And so, you know, I'm all for supporting this project.
I would say in reference to the balcony that this doesn't have columns. So as far as setbacks are concerned, even if it did require a variance of some sort, because there's no columns, that makes it more appetizing for me to accept, because that ground area is a little bit more clear. However, on the ground plane, you will see that there are already obstructions like a some sort of stone half wall, like a retaining wall or whatever, that goes on that same footprint anyways.
Also, Ben, this classifies as a projection. It's not part of the building envelope, so the setbacks really don't apply in this, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which would be similar to a bay window.
Yes,
or
sir.
signage.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the board? Seeing none, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve agenda item 5, which is application number 2101 as submitted. Did I get that right? Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion. Shonda Kramer seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
I would say nay, just pending approval from Joe Ward, building inspector.
Okay. One nay? Yep. One nay. All right. Motion passes. How many do we have? 5-1? Okay.
Nina will get it.
All right.
I think we have that would be 6-1, wouldn't it?
6-1. Yeah, we should have an odd number, right? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to agenda item 6, application 2103, Bisbee Residential Historic District non-contributing property, number 71, located at 206 O'Kay Street. Oh, wait, sorry, that was already approved, so we don't have to do that one. Sorry. Let's go to agenda item 7, application 2104, Bisbee Residential Historic District, contributing property number 21, located at 221 Brewery Avenue. Applicant Sean DeCramer and representative from Tucson Solar. Sean or representative, would you like to present this?
Yeah, first I need to recuse myself.
All right, recused.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, this is Dan with Tucson Solar Pros.
All right. Yeah, would you like to speak on this project? A couple minutes or a minute or two, however much you need.
Are you? Yeah. What all do you guys need from me?
Yeah. So if you can just tell us, how the panels will be mounted to the roof, whether they're sticking up from the roof or flat on the roof, or any things that would affect the visual characteristics of the building or the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah. So everything that we do, we want it to be as aesthetically appealing as possible. So we try to stay with the angle of the pitch of the roof if possible. If we have to raise the panels up, it's about a 15-degree tilt. On this project, I don't believe we're having to do that. So I think it's just going to be with the tilt of the pitch of the house. So we don't do any of the unsightly, standing tall up at weird angles and things like that. We're going to go, a couple inches above the roof line, flush with the roof. If the roof is less than 10 degrees, angled at less than 10 degrees, then we will angle it at a 15-degree angle. But it'll be, they're very sleek, very slim. And I think we sent you guys some examples of previous work that we've done. And I believe that we're only putting up 8 to 10 panels. It might be more than that. It might be 12. I can pull up the design if you need me to grab that.
Yeah, it's 12. We have the design up.
What's that?
It's 12. I'm looking at the design.
Okay. Yeah, 12 panels. And then also, just so you know, we're mindful about how we run the conduit. There will be conduit running from that to the breaker box. And we will definitely paint that to match so that it's not unsightly and just white silver conduit. We'll match that as close as possible. If you guys provide some paint, or from Sean, I can ask if he has some. Otherwise, we'll just do a paint match.
Yeah, I do have.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, I do have plenty of paint to match that.
Okay, perfect. And then other than that, the only thing that we need to install, which is basically to fulfill the requirements of the utility, is just a couple small boxes right next to the breaker box. And we'll be mindful to make those so that you simply can't see them, from the road and things like that. Do you guys have any other particular questions about the design? Or does that give you a good idea?
I have a question. What is the pitch of this roof? 712? Kind of looks like it's 612, 712.
Let me pull that up. Sorry, I got stuck on Daddy.
From the screen.
Let's see. Hey, Dan, do you have the tabs on this? I'm pulling them up right now. Let's see. I'll get it real quick.
Just looking at the photograph of the elevation, it's good 20 degrees.
Perfect. Yeah, so if it's over 10 degrees, then we're not going to, we're going to mount it just flush about 2 inches above the roof line with no tilt or pitch at all. And I am pulling up the plans.
So are both strings of panels, so there's 2 strings of panels, 6 and 6. Are they both facing south? Or is one facing east and one is facing south or north?
They're both both strings of east.
Okay.
There's a dormer that runs down the house. There won't be any panels on that. That's the 2 sloped parts of the roof that the panels will be placed on.
Okay.
Sean, if I understand correctly, you're also going to replace all the metal, like for
Yes.
like, including the piece in the middle, which is not receiving solar panels. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm going to use, the application has a red roof. It's not going to be a red roof. The material that I'm using is from Tucson Iron and Metal. It's the rusted metal look. So it'll have a very old kind of historic look to it. It won't look brand new.
Thank you.
And also on the roof replacement, the eaves on the east side of the house are 9 inches. Currently, the north side of the house does not have eaves, and the south side, we'd like to bring those eaves to 9 inches as well and add the eaves on the north side at 9 inches as well.
Yeah. Does that answer most of your questions on the solar and the roof, or what else you guys got for us?
I believe I'm correct. There was a letter from a neighbor who was in full support of the project.
Yeah, that's a good point, Peter. I did want to highlight to the rest of the board members that in the minutes we do have a kind of a more formulaic format. So before we launch into questions of the presenter, we'll try and do call to the public for each item first, and then we'll ask questions of the presenter. So thanks, Peter. Okay, seeing no other questions from the board or the public, would anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, Stephen Green here. I'd like to propose that we accept application number 2104 as presented, and I think we should approve it as it is.
Okay,
I
we have a
second
motion.
that.
We have a motion. Peter seconds. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Exciting, Sean, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I want to do that too. Hopefully I got to save up my shekels. Okay.
If you all have any more questions, Sean has my contact information as well.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Bye. Yeah, Sean, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions about that in private. I want to learn all about it. Cool. All right, so let's jump to let's see here. Agenda number 8. Application 2106, Bisbee Residential Historic District, contributing property 693, located at 809 Tombstone Canyon. Applicant Linda Santallanes, Representative Brian Hope.
I'm actually representing myself, and I do have to recuse myself as well. I'd like to describe what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to renovate and remodel at the same time, and I'm changing everything. This really doesn't pertain to the DRB, but mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural. So we've already done quite a bit of work structurally. So what I'm trying to do here, I'll start with the small things. I have a garden window that is broken and cracked, and obviously not historical. So what I'd like to do there is put a double hung window that's probably going to be about 30 by 36 into that bathroom, that's in the bathroom. And if you look at sheet A-100.1, oh wait, not on that one. Backwards. Let's see. Go to A-100.0. A little cross-hatched area on the far right. It's just that garden window. So that the interior of that is a bathroom. So the double hung window will also be tempered. Then the second thing I'm trying to do is, if you go up on that floor plan, there is a new door that's going to be located where an existing vinyl double hung window is. The new door is actually not a new door, it's an original door from the house. It matches the entry door, the exact same detailing. The only difference is that the entry door has edged glass. There's one square panel above the door handle, and the one that is existing, or that was in the house, is going to have beveled glass above. But they're both identical in size. One's a little bit smaller, the one that we're installing. I think I didn't measure it, but it's either 32 to 36, somewhere around there. Then the third item, I don't see it on here, but anyhow, there's if you look at item number 9 on sheet A-100.2, currently, there's a fairly new door and side light, glass door and side light. I'm going to move, and I'm going to replace the bottom portion. Basically, I'm going to enclose it and just have the glass panel. And I found one in the garage that is similar to what's there. It's double pane. There's really no other historical glass that was in the garage. But anyhow, I'm going to rotate that and clean it, and hopefully it's not scratched, but that's what I'd like to place in there. And finally,
So that was number 9.
that was number 9 on sheet 100.2. And then the last thing I'm going to do is, if you look at A100.0, there's a veranda that is on two sides of the house, and I am going to have that all torn out and replaced for like. I'm going to have the railing or the balustrade and all of the railing system taken out. I'm taking them down to have all the paint removed from it and then brought back and reinstalled. So I'm not changing that. It has beautiful fluting designs on each one of those balustrades. And everything else I'm doing is basically just supporting the columns since they were hollow below. And that'll support the roof and the structure. And I believe that's what I'm doing. I'm requiring a DRB approval on. Unless Brian has anything else to say on that.
No, that's pretty much it. I would like to note that the veranda does have to be rebuilt. It was improperly built to begin with. It's collapsing. There's really horrible water and termite damage. But as Linda has said, the columns, the detail on the columns, the flutings on the railings are just wonderful, and we're keeping all that in kind. It's just the floor structure that's going to be rebuilt.
And actually below it. And we're just using the exact same horizontal detail that the house has and adding air vents in the crawl space. Now there's a whole bunch of just horrible plastic vinyl lattice covering the entire base, and there's some windows in there that are definitely not historical. They're just single paned, old windows, some broken, cracked. I don't know if anybody went on the property. I didn't see anybody. I've been there all week. And that's pretty much it.
Very cool. Are there any anyone here called to the public? Anyone to speak on this? Okay, didn't think so. All right. Any questions from the board? Seeing none. I'd like to say this is a pretty awesome project. Linda, very exciting. I particularly like that you're removing the columns, stripping the paint, patching them back together and reinstalling them. That's super cool. I wish other applicants would take note. It's really great. Are you doing the work yourself, or?
No, some work I did, but it was just demo work. But it's all being done by Tomas Enriquez and by Electric and local people.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Exciting.
But it's all MP&E and structural.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the house about a year.
Yeah. Yeah, and the drawings are super clear. I can tell everything that's going on. So good job, Brian. Okay. Is there anyone want to make a motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve DRB application number 21-06 as is.
I'd like to second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Good. No nays. Motion passes unanimously, minus Linda. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Okay.
Definitely a labor of love, and you know, when you don't have a project, you have to make up a project if you're in this field.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Agenda item 9. Application 2107. Bisbee Residential Historic District, contributing property number 571, located at 318 Tombstone Canyon. Applicant Donna Burke, Representative Johnny Raby, and is somebody here to speak to this one?
I am here. It's Donna Burke. And Johnny was going to be here, but he is in the middle of finishing some cement job that he just can't walk away from. So I hope I can answer questions for you. I really don't. I don't know what he submitted, so I'm a little bit in the dark. But I do, of course, know what we're hoping to do here. So maybe it will be more beneficial if you ask questions. If anyone has questions, I don't know. But mostly what we're doing is placing windows and doors. And just to say at first that my first hope was to keep the windows. I don't know if you know Jeff Schreiber. He's redone some of the windows or many of the windows in Central School. And I asked him if he could do them for me, and he said he could absolutely make them functional, but he could absolutely not make them airtight. So there's not, like, they would not have any insulation property pretty much at all. So that's why I was sort of forced to go with something more modern. And then in the front of the building, you see that there are, the windows there have 6 panels each. And it looks fine with the 6 panels because they're big enough windows. But in order to replace them, the only thing that I could find was like 9 panels. And when you try to put a 9 panel in that space, because of the railing of the balcony, both at the bottom and at the top, sort of the facing there, it gets really busy. It sort of takes away from the whole aesthetic of it. So I was hoping to do just a single hung on those 2 spaces, keeping the exact same size and everything on that. And then on the side of the building where there's that sort of horrible horizontal window, to replace that with 2 single hung windows that would be the same size as the one next to it. And that one really, it's almost a ½ an inch space between it and the wall. So that one also has to be replaced. It's not very functional. And then the final one on that side is must have been put in much later. It doesn't, it's a fixed window. It doesn't open at all. And so I'd like to make that one just so that all the windows on that side of the building match. And then the other windows in the back, they now have 2 panes on top and bottom, but I couldn't find those anywhere. So I'm hoping to just do the 1 pane on bottom and top and the single hung again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anyone called to the public? Is there anyone here to speak? Have there been any letters, emails that came in?
I guess I'm in the public. I didn't have my phone on earlier. My computer doesn't have a microphone or a. This is Joe Ward. I was looking at those windows, and I'm thinking that it's almost like a defining feature. I would love to see the windows replicated instead of a clear pane across it, but you guys are in charge.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? I would love to do that, like if I could replicate them too, but I can't. All I can get is this sort of ugly nine panels, and they don't have the metal on the outside. It's only on the inside, and it's sort of, when you have that much happening, as well as all of the railing on top and bottom, it just makes it too busy at that space. So I think it takes away from the aesthetic of the building. And in fact, I don't think that the balcony was original to the building. I think that because the windows went up almost like a, I don't know what you call it when you can open the top window. And so I was looking, and so the front, I think, was just a flat straight up at once when it was originally built. And I was looking at that same aesthetic on the city, the court building today, and their windows do not have all of that, all of the grid in it. They're just like maybe 2 panels.
But Donna, what happens is that your windows are kind of a defining feature on that. It is a contributing structure. I wish
I could keep them. Like, I don't know. Maybe, like, if you're saying...
I'm pretty ssure that they make windows like that, but I'm not...
But not, I couldn't buy them, like, you know, I'm sorry, I just can't afford, like, I'm a hairstylist, you know? So I wish I could put $70,000 worth of windows in the building, but I just can't pull that off, you know? So... yeah, I don't know. They're beautiful windows, and I wish that I could just rehab them and put them back in where they are. The question is just about whether or not I can, because I'm not going to be able to do in kind. In other words, what I'm saying, Joe, like what I'd have to do is a 9-panel, and they're nowhere near as attractive as the 6 panels are now. That's my argument.
Okay. Any other call to public? Okay. Seeing none, I'll open this up to the board members. I did share. I went there today, and I did share some photos, which I think Nina has relayed to you all, and those photos were of the newer windows that were put in on the, I think they're vinyl windows, and they were put in on the west side, close to the street. And I sent those out because I had a concern and a question. Well, first a question for Donna. Those new vinyl windows that were put in, they look like, I don't know if they're double or single hung, but they're definitely pretty new windows. Did Johnny Raby put those in, or somebody else?
No, he didn't. You know what? I had a handyman do it, and I just wasn't really aware that I was supposed to go to the DRB before I replaced windows. So they are newer. I just had them done last year. They're single hung, and the ones that I took out were single hung. The ones that I took out were not vinyl, they were wood, but again, it was the same problem. I had asked Jeff if he could fix them for me, and he said, and at the time I had a renter here, so, you know, she was having problems with bugs and cold and all of that, and so that's why I made that choice.
Okay, because I wanted to, there's one photo I submitted that's actually zoomed in to those windows, and I discovered that they're installed incorrectly in such a way that rainwater would come in at the top of the vinyl and actually go into the window, because when you install these windows, especially in an older building like this, they're supposed to be set into the wall so that as rainwater comes down the face of the building, it goes past the window. But these are mounted outside of the exterior of the trim, and so rainwater would catch on the top and get ejected into the building, causing mold and so forth, which is why I'm not surprised that Johnny Raby didn't install them, that somebody else installed, because I don't think he would have done that. And then also from an aesthetic point of view, because they're on the face of the building, it makes the walls of the building look very thin. Whereas if you look at the historic windows to the left on the balcony, they're set in quite a bit, you know, and it gives thickness to the wall, and so it's a totally different look. So I just wanted to point that out as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ben. I'll ask Johnny if maybe they can reset those for me.
If I may?
Yeah.
One, I wanted to start with the materials list on this application. And I think it's lacking for us to make a correct decision And I say that because we don't have a visual reference of the type of windows that are going to go in. Number two, I'd like to say that the windows on the front of the building, I mean, that's part of the historic nature of that building. It's part of the character. It's not that those windows cannot be reproduced. I understand that there's a cost associated with those windows, but we're also called to uphold the Secretary of Interior's guidelines. And I understand it's expensive, but I can't get on board with changing out those types of windows and altering the appearance and the historical nature of the building.
Sean, Stephen Green here. You know, I agree with Sean on that. You know, this is the line that we are presented with a lot, where it's between preservation and restoration. And when things have been replaced and they're not like how they should be, I don't think that should be preserved. I think we should put it back how it was originally, which is a true restoration. And it's not clear here exactly how this was before, because some changes have happened in the meantime. But I suppose it's up to us now to judge on this matter.
In respect of the front windows on the balcony, I don't know what would be involved, but to preserve those windows, would it be possible to put on the inside a storm window for the winter weather, and to, you know, you would then have the effect of double glazing. It probably wouldn't be as expensive as replacing the window. You would have a clear sheet of glass, but it would be on the inside. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know what the interior looks like, but I'm wondering, Donna, whether that would be a solution.
You know, I would definitely go with that. Because I love those windows too. You know, it's the old glass, and I'd like to keep them, but I need to be warm too. Yeah. So that's an option. Yeah.
I mean, coming from Pennsylvania, we had storm windows on our old house, and they worked a lot better than most double glazing. Because the air gap was so great.
And it would certainly be more attractive.
Yeah.
So
I've got another suggestion. I'd like to just slip in here because it's related to Peter's. I've also had storm windows on a historic building I lived in Beijing, which actually had new windows that were vinyl windows that were so bad I had to put in storm windows. So they work really well. And they, depending on what kind you get, you can even get them as a film. That's what mine were. They weren't like solid, they were plastic. The other thing is, I have old windows just like yours. I've taken them apart myself and fixed them up. But they sell this weather stripping. It's by 3M, and it's silicone, not vinyl. And it's got a 3M adhesive on it. This stuff is a miracle worker, and it's super cheap. I get this from eBay. If you get the silicone one, it works really well. It works on doors too, and it's very similar to what you'd have around your car door, only it's flat. So this stuff is super great. And that's it. I'd prefer if other people talked. Chimed in.
So I'm just gonna say is if I keep the windows, the front windows of the building as they are, don't change them, and just do something on the inside, would the board consider the rest of the application? Can we do that, or does it have to be another application? This is Johnny right now. Johnny, I'm actually, we're up right now. We're talking, so you might not have to come.
Let me squeeze in there real quick. I'm at Lost One right here, so.
Okay.
Okay, just they need to hear anything from me.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
I think there's probably some other concerns besides just the front ones. But from my point of view, the ones that are definitely safe to replace is that aluminum horizontal slider that's on the east side, and then the smaller window that's also on the east side, not the double hung one, but the one that's on the southeast.
Yeah.
Those two, they're not historic.
You know what, Ben? If I could, I don't know if I can bring this over and show you the window that you're wanting to maybe save, because it's pretty bad. Let me see. I'm still in the middle of a remodel here. I don't have any light.
Ben, the other thing I noticed was those where her front door are in the back. Those have been replaced, so you have like some original glass, you have some bevel glass in the same window. I don't know if you saw that. In the panel.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that one that on that side where next to the two horizontal ones, that one is really not salvageable. It's pretty bad. It was completely warped and kind of falling apart.
I would say, as an architect, I know there are other local resources that you can source a greater variety. I'm not going to name who it is because that'd be in bad form, but there's definitely other options as far as the number of muntins, which are like the vertical and horizontal subdividers, on the market for sure. But I think your original hunch of trying to restore these windows, and also Peter's suggestion of storm windows, I think is actually going to be cheaper anyways.
But are you talking about the windows on the side or the windows in the front of the building?
I'm talking about all the historic windows that are double hung, which are the ones that you can move up and
down. But none of them actually work anymore.
Well, they're pretty easy to fix because what you do, I wish my webcam was movable, but what you do is on the inside of the window, that trim that's on the inside of your house comes off. They're usually designed to come off, and then you can really easily get in there and repair the weights, because a lot of times the rope that holds up the weights deteriorates and they break, and you can replace that with a steel chain, is what I did. And then you can go in there and kind of move the window panes around and get a pry bar in and knock out the paint that has glued those window panes. And then you can replace individual frames if they have dry rot or termites without, replacing the whole thing.
Have the name of someone who does that? Because that's the other issue here. Like, we all want our houses fixed, and there's like so few people who can actually do it for you. And so, you know what? So Johnny is here now, and what they're saying is that they're suggesting we take the windows apart and repair them and put them back in.
Yeah, they're not going to be very operable or very weather resistant on that. That we're looking for some kind of insulation as well here.
So they were suggesting that we do like a storm window on the inside, and not replace any of these windows, but have somebody come in and take them all apart and put them all back together.
I would.
Windows all inside.
Well, we already got a bunch of new windows out here. Did you guys look at those pictures?
Yeah, and I noted earlier that those new windows, those vinyl ones, were installed incorrectly because they're sticking out of the face of the building. They're not set into the building.
Get those.
So, and we did clarify that you didn't install them, which is good. But those new windows are going to draw rain into the building unless the trim is fixed or they're set in and properly weather sealed.
Oh, well, thanks for that. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, but I would say the aluminum horizontal slider and maybe all the windows on the east side I'm open to replacing. But the other ones are quite historic, and I would like to I would like to find
already. Those were a lot taller, so they're all chopped up and they're basically scabbed in there. The tops of them have been rehabbed already.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work properly at all either, sir. And we already bought the other windows too with the grid in it, right?
Yeah, we
with
have
the
those,
grid in it.
which I hate.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying anything until after you get DRB approval. It's kind of risky.
That was pretty. It seemed like a pretty basic thing that they got the grid in them, so it's pretty much going to match what you got there.
Okay, because one of the other board members, Shonda Kramer, who can...
I understand what you guys want to do with these windows, rehab them. That I got stuck with a bunch of windows on another job too, on a commercial. That's for a commercial. This is a residential. Okay, if you guys look at your laws and stuff in there, it's gonna say that a residential you could do that on a commercial. It's better to rehab them. You could ask Donna about that one.
I'm commercial below and residential above. So my commercial, keep those windows for sure, and it is cold in there, but it's not a big deal. But up above, I do really have to have.
I would like to clarify that this is a contributing structure, and because it's contributing, there is a 50% discount on your income on your property tax. Which the reason why that
I'm sorry, I can't get that 50% off because I'm partially. I'm downstairs. I'm commercial, and upstairs I'm residential. So I'm disqualified for that.
Yeah, we got to take a good look at that.
Hey, Ben, if I may, I'd also like to remind everybody that pursuant to Bisbee Zoning Code, Article 3.5,
on the internet,
the property owner is required to obtain approval from the DRB prior to the change of any building's exterior feature.
Talking about what? What are you talking about? The other windows?
Yeah, you have to obtain permission from the DRB before you do any exterior alterations to a building contributing, especially a contributing structure in the historical district.
So that brings up 2 points. One is that the windows on the west side were replaced, I believe, without DRB permission. I was on the DRB board. I don't remember seeing this one before, and they were done incorrectly. In addition to that, when more windows were bought prior to DRB permission, which is a risk of the owner or contractor. So
what are we doing there? You should concentrate on this other windows. Those are done already. Now we could fix them up and make them right.
Thank you.
If that's what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, can I add a couple of thoughts?
Yes, please.
My first thought is that all of those windows and doors are historical, and to change them would be really against the purposes of this board to have the entire exterior of that building change. The changes that have been made really are not acceptable as they are. I feel that the best way to move forward here, rather than going in circles, is to use part of this application, but ask the applicant to please submit more detail regarding what exact replacements would be made. So, for example, if we are going to allow vinyl windows to be placed in this home, then to submit a couple of different options that we can actually look at before they're switched out. However, I don't believe that changing the grid is acceptable when there are opportunities to repair the inside with the storm windows, as both of you mentioned. The exterior is extremely historical. It will change the front of the building. And there are some things that you can do with the interior, as well as, for example, if one is concerned about cold, there are some very wonderful blackout shades now that are very attractive that can go inside the home that will all...
You guys don't understand. This is a residential up here.
Can
please
finish? Can you
residential? You
Johnny?
Johnny? Yeah.
I understand that
Order.
it's residential, but it
I don't
is
know what number of law that's under, but it, Donna
Call to order.
knows that one.
Call to order. Please, can you let Yvette?
I'm just mentioning, I understand that it is residential. However, all of those windows and doors are historic.
They all historic all over Bisbee, and everybody's
Call to order. Call to order. Yvette is not finished. Johnny, please, can you
What's
let her?
that? Go ahead, Will.
Can you mute the mic? Thank you. Yvette? Sorry.
Just to clarify that we understand that it is a residence. However, the doors and the windows are historic. And so that is the key concern here, is modifying those to something that is modern, that will change the existing structure and look of the building.
Yeah.
When there are things that can be done to repair on the inside, which I think plenty of us would be happy to help with
Why do you guys
offline.
keep avoiding my deal when I keep telling you it's a residential?
The DRB guidelines apply to residents as well as commercial.
Yeah, but that's something you do on a commercial building, not on a residential.
That's not true. We're trying to maintain
It's a more of a protective thing for the homeowner and insulation.
Johnny, I would recommend that.
Okay, well, I guess I don't know what we're gonna do here. I mean, we make it to the windows are vinyl, the vinyl windows, and with all the trim is all antique, so it makes it look like, you know, that's an old style in there, like we did on those other buildings downtown.
Okay, I think I'd like to start to summarize things so we can make a motion. There were a few ideas that came out. I think Sean DeCramer's idea of allowing the applicant to submit, have you guys submit more details, maybe some images of exactly what style windows you propose to replace, and being more specific about the options that are on hand for restoring the historic 4-light double hung wood windows, and resubmitting. I don't know if anyone else on the board wants to chime in on possible motion suggestions, and then we can wrap this up and somebody can make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
I just really don't think we have enough information to make a educated decision at this point in time. I would prefer us to table this for 30 days. That would be my suggestion till our next meeting. Give the applicant time to get the correct materials list before us so we can see it and make an informed decision, because right now we still haven't physically seen anything that we can make a decision on.
Hello?
All right, so I'll get you guys a drawing of, I'll just draw something out exactly the way it's kind of be, and I'll present that to you.
Hello?
What you guys?
Well,
Yeah,
I got a picture of the actual window, what it looks like, how many grids are on.
I'll give you the brand name, the serial number on it too.
Hello?
Okay.
I would recommend.
Oh, this is Joe Ward. Hi, Joe.
Okay, I would recommend that you guys. Okay, I mean, I was in there and those windows over on the facing east, they're horrible, and you guys could approve those. I'm sure to do something different because you got the horizontal sliders. You know how we all love those. But I would recommend that if I could just interject here. Sorry.
Okay. Well taken. Thank you, Joe.
Well, if you guys could if we could maybe approve that side, that east side and the back of the house, because nobody sees that either. And then we could whittle on this other side on the front. I'll give you guys a good description of that.
Any other board member suggestions for a motion?
Yeah, I'll hold on just a second. I'm trying to. I let go and the slider that's on. So I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. All right.
To only replace the slider window. Is it the windows on the east side?
Yeah.
And deny the rest of the application.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
I'm a nay. I think the east side and the, what is it, the south side?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have 6 ayes and 1 nay. Motion passes. Teresa, was that motion clear?
Yes, thank you.
Can you tell me the motion again? I wasn't clear on it.
Sure. So the motion was all the windows on the east side are okay for replacement.
Okay.
The other ones, I would suggest you reapply with more clarity as to, why they can't be fixed or what you want to replace them with.
All right. So you're not approving the back side of the house where nobody can see it?
Correct.
And the doors?
Correct. Well, the doors we need more information on. Like what you suggested earlier.
On the front, right? But on the back, is it okay to use what we got? Because these windows are totally funky back here. There's only like one and a door.
Yeah, just resubmit with more information. Sorry.
Ben, Peter, can this be done as part of the same submission rather than making the applicant have to pay another fee?
I would certainly be favorable towards that. I guess that's Teresa's call.
We would not require another fee.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, can we just clarify the motion? I thought it was just to change the aluminum window, or is it all 3 windows on the east side, which would be seen on page 82?
Mm-hmm.
Or just the aluminum? There's 4 windows there, so I'm just clarifying. I thought Sean made a motion to change the aluminum, or are we changing the 3 with the handwriting above them and not changing the 4th at the bottom? Or are we changing all?
Oh. I understood all of them.
I heard all.
Yeah, the motion was to replace the 3 that are listed on there. The 4th one down at the bottom is not. It doesn't have any
on that side. The one on the bottom, It ain't being done. That's already done.
Okay. I think this agenda item is done. And I'd like to move on to agenda item 10. Agenda item 10, approval of minutes, January 6th, 2020 meeting. Any comments?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm not
Are we done or what?
But
Yeah. We've made a motion and
right. What's it called?
what was the determination? We can replace the windows on the upstairs on the east side and
Correct.
everything else is repermitted?
Correct.
Okay. So distance windows.
And you guys just blew me off with the back side of the house. All right. Thank you.
Not everyone.
Let's see. Are we done?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, good night. Thank you.
You too. All right. Agenda item number 10, approval of minutes of January 6th, 2021 meeting.
Can I ask a question, being a newbie here? Can you guys hear me?
Is this Scott?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Hi, Scott.
Hi, we're done with the new business, is that correct?
No, we still have 3 more, and then we're going to go to the old business.
So we still have 3 more things to, okay. I have a question concerning one of the items that was on the agenda but has been passed, and was just very curious as to how it was passed and why it was passed so expeditiously. That's 2301. Item 2301. Monica Patience, her project.
103.
Am I out of place? Am I out of place asking this question at this point?
No, I can clarify.
Okay.
I can clarify that the applicant made a change to their application that allowed for me to provide them with an administrative approval. So that did not come before the design review board.
So administrative or approval, that's something that you can do at any time?
Well, in some cases.
Okay, can you extrapolate on that in some cases?
Right. I don't have the code in front of me. So they're moving back a wall in order to create a parking space.
No, I understand that.
Right. So they submitted an application that showed that they would have chain link fence. And for that reason, I would not administratively approve it. They came back with a change to use pipe. They actually proposed 1.5 inch pipe. I required them to use 2.5 inch or greater pipe, and then to use a wire mesh fence that matches the historic district. And I have administratively approved fences in the past.
Okay, but this is a greater scope than just fencing, is that correct?
For the historic district?
Yes. I mean, we're building a retaining wall. They're building a retaining wall and actually extending the street into the yard to accommodate parking space. Is that not correct?
They're creating a parking space on their property.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious, wanting to know why it was done, how it was done, and just looking for the nuances and subtleties of protocol on the board.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
also
you,
had
Scott.
some questions because the drawing that was submitted had only a dimension of 10 feet, but is it 10 by 19? Is it 9 by 19? It's right on the side of the road. I mean, is it going to take into consideration the APS pole that's getting moved over from the other side of the street? I mean, to me, it seemed like it was pretty big. I know that they had already started because all the rebar was exposed. They'd already done all the demo and excavating. Just seems strange that that would go under administrative approval. Joe, were you good with all of this? And I don't mean the administrative construction portion.
Linda, the last time I saw it, there was not any rebar, there was not anything like that, and they had not proceeded. But I'm okay with that, with the administrative approval for this is not affecting a contributing structure. This is in the yard of a possibly contributing structure.
Right. Did you know that the APS pole was going to be moved to that side of the street?
I'm having a hard time hearing you. Would you say that again, please, Linda?
Oh, Cynthia, could you turn off your mic, please?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
You think it's my mic?
You're coming through a little bit because I'm hearing off of a cell phone. Linda, it's really hard to hear you because it's coming in, you're coming through in little, you know how bits are, and then they break them apart when you're dealing with a cell phone. And so my audio is all coming through the cell phone.
Okay, Mike, can you hear me now? Is it better?
I can hear that. Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering if you knew that APS is moving the power pole to that side of the street.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, so that's happening. And then the other thing is, I was a little surprised. I walked around the neighborhood and several people came out. I guess they're very sensitive about this. And they did not get any information from our group. They didn't have letters or anything. So I don't know how that happened. Maybe, Teresa, you can explain how that happened, because nobody knew that this was going up for approval. Not that they were against it, but they didn't get their flyers or the 300-foot diameter. I just want to make sure.
Linda, not everything gets in the 300-foot notification. But it has to rise to a certain level, and that's what Ms. Williams takes care of. And really, she is in contact with me and Teresa all the time, and I'm really trustful of what she does, and I don't think that the 300-foot notification is necessary in this case, because it doesn't have to do with the structure. It has to do with the yard in front of a structure.
I'd like to weigh in on this a little bit, because I do know some backstory from another committee position. So I'm on the Streets and Infrastructure Committee. I've been on for more than 2 years. And Monica has approached that committee a few times about parking problems that she's had there. And so this particular project has taken an immense amount of the city's time as far as comments and complaints and all sorts of stuff. And I think with the neighbors and everyone, just how much time the city staff has put into this issue. I really don't blame them for wanting to just get this resolved as quickly as possible, because Monica is really making a financial contribution to this project for the neighborhood, because she's creating a parking spot in an area that was extremely, extremely contentious for many, many years. So I don't blame city staff for just wanting to make this thing move on. But I do understand the questions about why would this get green lighted and other ones not. But. Are there any other comments? Okay, I'd like to move on to agenda item 10, approval of the minutes of January 6, 2021. Do we have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve those meeting minutes. Second.
I'll second it.
Do we have a second? I'm not sure who that was. I'll say Scott. Okay, I'll just pick Scott. All of you were at the same time. We have a motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none. I'd like to go on to agenda item 11, review and discussion of the amended zoning code, Article 6, general provisions, walls and fences to include fencing for sporting and non-inclusive windscreens. Okay.
Unobtrusive, wouldn't it be a better word?
Yeah, I think non-obtrusive. Yeah. Anyway, it says inclusive on the thing. So, Sean, I think this is yours, right? Or is this mine?
Yeah, no, that was one I put at the end.
Okay. So,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first, before we go to that, is there any public comment on this one?
Hello.
This wouldn't affect anything that's currently already on the books. This is for future, after the new guidelines are adopted and voted in by council. So this doesn't affect anything now.
Okay.
Cynthia, I'm not surprised you'd want to talk on this one. 3 minutes.
Yeah. Duh. Oh, you want me to talk or not?
You raised your hand, so I'm.
Yeah. Well, number one, what does non-inclusive windscreens mean? In fact, what does this whole item number 10 mean? Like plain English and application.
I think that actually is referencing your windscreen. Obviously, we can't change the rules for somebody. We have to do it through the process of approval by zoning and then actual adoption. So this wouldn't affect any current agenda items, but I think it would. What we discovered is that for commercial and industrial, our codes don't say anything about sports, like baseball field fences or windscreens or anything like that. It's not listed in there anywhere. There's something about barbed wire. There's something about that sort of thing. But if we wanted a new baseball field with a new chain link fence, chain link fence in residential context is prohibited, but it doesn't say anything about commercial. So that's why this is before us.
Right, but what's the definition of non-inclusive? I don't know what that means. I have a degree in psychology, not in English, but English was sort of one of my specialties, and law, and I don't know what non-inclusive means. It must be a legal term. You got it from your lawyer. What is non-inclusive windscreens? Meaning they weren't part of the original project you approved, so they're...
I believe that's a typo. I believe that's a typo, and it's supposed to say non-obtrusive.
No, not obtrusive. Okay, well, there you go. But, that'll be even worse for you guys because obtrusive is a word that's open to moral and visual and artistic interpretation. But you go right ahead. I'm just like fun with you, okay?
Right. So, the backstory. Okay. The backstory, Cynthia, is that we're in the process of adopting the guidelines. So there is, we do have special session where we wordsmith things. More as an open discussion, so we can actually further define what obtrusive means, so it's not.
You guys talk about it. I can't wait to hear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to know what this is because I have no idea. So
thank you, Liz.
That would be fabulous. So I'm kind of lost here.
Yeah, so I believe what happened was at the end of last meeting, before the end of the last meeting, there's been a lot of debate about the windscreens at St. Patrick's Church. I think we're all aware of the topic, and I don't think we need to rehash that at this point. What I did on my own time was I went around town trying to find areas where we had windscreens. And the only area that I could find one was at a sporting place, which is our public pool. And those windscreens they back up to the 80. And in trying to keep with the guidelines and the zoning codes and everything that we have to uphold as a board, what I proposed at the end of the last meeting was to amend the zoning code to include private public recreational facilities, adding an inclusion of unobtrusive windscreens not blocking the view of major landmarks.
Oh, sorry. Who is speaking now? Could you guys identify yourself when you speak? Because there's no way to tell who's speaking. Who is that speaking?
I'd like to, I'd like to, I wasn't keeping time, but at a certain point, maybe one more minute, close public comment and just have the board discuss, because that's really the intent of this agenda item. But that was Shonda Kramer speaking. Cynthia, any last comments?
Only could he be any more specific? Okay, so as we all know, it will have nothing to do with the topic number 3 that we're going to be discussing here in a few minutes. So I'll reserve all any comments for item number 3. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sean, I like this proposal, especially clarifying obtrusive being not blocking landmarks, I would say, or any historic structure, contributing structure from visual contact, because what we're really doing here is referencing the national parks historic guidelines for open space and visual connection between landmarks and visual corridors and public spaces, of which Main Street and around the Iron Man statue and that whole area constitutes a public space. That's our biggest and most historic road. And I think something like this makes perfect sense. Just as if you wouldn't put a windscreen around the library or around any other historic building unless it's temporary for scaffolding or something like that for safety reasons, like around a construction site. I think, but then that would be temporary. So I think if we word this so that it's clearly defined as upholding the interior's definition of not blocking view corridors, historic contributing structures, and landmarks, I think we would be very much in keeping with that.
You know, and Ben, I agree with you 100%. And you know, I think we amend the zoning code puts us in a position to realize that we're a growing community, that we're not going to sit here and say no just because it's in the guidelines, but we want to see development. We want to see the community grow. We want to see these types of activities come into our town. But at the same time, we still have to uphold, you know, the national park guidelines, everything that we're here to uphold. And this is just a base for us to start that process.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the other board members on this addition?
I'm just
go ahead.
Only because I thought we were approving the minutes for agenda item 10, and then on the agenda it says future agenda item suggestions review of the zoning code. it doesn't say that we're having a discussion about this. I'm just confused as to why we're having a discussion, I think.
Oh, mine says review and discussion. Oh, I don't know if we're...
Yeah, but we had
mine does.
we had two separate agendas that were sent out and they were amended, and so it moved everything by one.
I'm
It
looking
got sent out to
at today, so anyway, I thought this was the most current one that I'm reviewing now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the new one. It's my agenda item 11 says review and discussion.
Mm-hmm. So let me just ask a question for clarification. Is this because of what's going on in front of the Bisbee Social Club?
No.
Absolutely not. This is just, no. I mean, no.
This is a gap we found that wasn't.
I know.
No.
This needs to be clarified because this is new to a lot of us, and it really, I think, it needs to be developed before it's presented. Is my opinion. And we're
But I think
changing.
that has nothing to do with the Bisbee Social Club.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there's, I guess I'm a little confused. Like, what would you like to see developed? We're having a discussion on how to develop it and how to amend it. And this is how to start the process.
Now, Teresa, isn't there something that through City Council as well?
It will go to Planning Commission and then to City Council for a change to the ordinance, to the code.
But yeah, currently we have a pretty refined, almost complete new set of guidelines. And I think this is basically, hopefully, one of the last additions to those guidelines. And then we can complete that and send it to planning and zoning. So I think I would like to add in these wording suggestions into a commercial section that talks about fences and walls.
Do any of the other board members have anything to say? I mean, does everybody understand what's going on?
Is that a proposal?
No, it's not a proposal yet. I'm just trying to clarify.
Ben, would it be appropriate to sort of table this and agree that one or more of us will propose some language which will be included in the agenda of our next meeting, of our March meeting? And then we have something substantial to debate, just as we've looked at the text in the proposed DRB code. Would that be it? To get us off dead center, because I don't think we're going anywhere with this right now.
Yeah, I think that would be a good motion to make.
I mean, I'm not volunteering to write the text. I wouldn't mind reviewing somebody's text before it's submitted to the rest of the board. But if Sean or you want to take a stab at it, I'd be perfectly happy to take a look, make some comments or whatever, and then we'll get it in the agenda, and then we can discuss it. We would have something tangible. Would that work?
I'd take a stab at it, Ben. If you, if this is a situation where two minds are better than one, we can accomplish more working together.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead. You're the one who's. Oh, well, I was going to make a motion that this item is tabled pending development of a text by members Kramer and Lepley for inclusion in the agenda for the March DRB meeting.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
We're all second it.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Seeing no nays, motion passes unanimously. And then we have agenda item 12, and then we will go back to new items. So agenda item number 12, review of open meeting law. There's a link to an open meeting law booklet, I believe. That table of contents. There are two core concepts. If anyone can mute so we don't get, there's a lot of noise coming in. Cynthia, if you could mute your mic, please. Is there somebody here to speak on agenda item number 12? Teresa or Anthony Underwood?
So here, he said, these people have no authority. They have no authority. Unless a building permit is required, if it's no change on a building, people don't have the authority, which is back to what I thought in the first place. Now they're trying to add this new ordinance that they're listening to right now. They're going to just get stomped on. So I think we just be nice and thank you. Right? You tell them how beautiful it is, right? You tell them how all your parishioners, 1,500 of them, love you. They can go fly. No, you need to speak like you are not speaking for Tony Underwood. You are speaking for the large membership of the church. Yeah, no, I know. That's right. Yeah, that's what you tell them. Okay.
Can we mute? Can everyone, if you're not speaking, mute your mics? Thank you. Agenda item number 12, review of open meeting law. Somebody here to speak on this one. Teresa?
Ben, there were some questions about open meeting law, I believe, after your last meeting. So we provided these materials. If there are specific questions in regard to the material, I would be happy to answer questions.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for providing all this. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So I would like to move on to new or old business, sorry. Agenda item 1. Application 2094, Bisbee Residential Historic District, vacant lot located at 140 OK Street. Applicants Rob and Darcy Starkenberg. Is there anyone to speak on this? Okay. I believe.
Yeah, I can. Or if Ben, if you want to just go ahead and cover what you talked to Joe about.
Yeah. So this is basically just to clarify our vote as a council that we were approving this, including the setbacks and height variance. So I want to open it to the committee to basically affirm that that was the intention of that motion, that it was to also include the height and setbacks.
Are you looking for a motion? Should I make one?
Yeah.
Well, first discussion, if anyone objects to that. If not, then I'd like to make a motion. Okay. Seeing no comments, I'd like to make a motion to affirm the approval of application 2094, 140 OK Street, including the setback and height restrictions as applied to in that application.
Second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, aye.
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 Any nays? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. And we will now go to agenda item 2. Agenda item 2 is for the fence, a railing in front of 201 Tombstone Canyon. This is application 2096. Cynthia, you're up. I'll give you, for public comment, we have 3 minutes, but Cynthia, you can take more time.
This is pretty short, thanks again. So we've already been in 1 or 2 meetings on this. I've already forgotten. It's quite simple. This railing was put up on the property of Bisbee Boat Inc. And I didn't file the application because of confusion on my part, because there was extensive interaction between Public Works Director Jesus Haro and myself due to a sewer breakage and just a whole lot of money and time and standing in the cold. And so at that time I had said to him, hey, I'm going to extend this railing because, people are always, including myself at the age of 73, likely to fall off. Built by Al Hopper. If he had any brains, he would have put a railing up in the first place like 25 years ago. Just like when the restaurant next door it in their area and put up a railing. What do railings do? They prevent people from twisting their ankles. And believe me, I have been seriously hurt at the, years ago, oh my God, I ruined my life at the what do you call that thing? The place where animals go, the shelter. I twisted my ankle falling off of a 4-inch, 3-inch curb at the animal shelter. I didn't sue the city. I don't sue people, but I realized how easy it is, whether you're young or old, to have accidents. So I put up this railing because I see people all the time of all ages, running, walking, extended a railing I already had that was to guard the front door. And I didn't even think about asking you guys. So I have now paid not only the original fee of $75, but an additional fee of $75. Now, the only thing I want to say really, really quickly, and then I'm done, it was done for safety reasons. I was like Donna before me, Donna Burke. Oh, sorry, I didn't even think because I was so busy doing all these projects at the same time. Sewer, railings, my man was available now before he left for Mexico. So that's how it happened. I apologize. I want to say that when Andrew Laws begins to speak, I'm reminding you an outline of basic parliamentary procedures which I received because of my new initiation onto streets and infrastructure. 3G, personal remarks are always out of order. I've had this man attack and insult me before. I expect you, Ben, or someone to put him out of order if he...
Talking about personal remarks, Cynthia, Jesus.
Order!
I only do what I do in the interest of the greater safety and the interest of a nonprofit known as Bisbee Boat Inc., for which I do not receive anything except a payment salary of $1,800 a month. So I don't want to hear any accusations that I'm affecting his business. I put up a fence because I thought I had permission. I put it up and now I'm trying to get permission. If you look at it, it's beautiful just like the people next door. It protects myself, other people of my age, and young people, and everyone who cannot fall off of the 4-inch, break your neck, break your leg. It's an enhancement to the building, as I was complimented on by numerous people. Thank you. It's beautiful. We love it. And it also, just secondarily, when I did get permission with ROW to put in a driveway access to 201 Tombstone Canyon to restore it to its historic nature of a single residency, which is not now, but it could be sold and become a single residency rather than an office and an Airbnb. We have a ramp, we have a driveway, and so part of this railing keeps people from running down the stairs and turning into that sidewalk, and therefore that's all I have to say. It's for safety, it's for beauty, it's really great. Thank you. And sorry I didn't get permission first. It just really slipped my mind.
Okay, thank you. I will now open this up to the public if there's any emails or letters first, and then people to speak after, limit 3 minutes. Letters, comment, emails, seeing none. I think Andrew Laws is here to speak on this.
Thank you. So all her excuses are just made up out of nothing. You know, there's no safety hazard any different than any other sidewalk. You don't put fences across a sidewalk to block garage doors. That's obviously ridiculous. There's garage doors opening to sidewalks, billions of them in the world. And so Al Hopper built that sidewalk with the express purpose of it being the public sidewalk and the access from the parking spaces, the 3 parking places in front of that place, to access to go to his business, my business, and the restaurant. And it's been that way since 1992 or 1, which is like 29 years. And it is now an established prescriptive easement that really legally can't be blocked. I have my rights to access. Now, I don't want to affect her private property. I would suggest that if she wants to try to reclaim that and not be a prescriptive easement anymore, she should provide an equally accessible area in the front, another sidewalk. If it was going to be a porch that was going to be private, it would have needed another sidewalk in front of that. And it's more dangerous now. Anybody parking there and walking to my business or to her own front door has to walk over a much more treacherous obstacle course. Anyway, I don't know that you guys want to hear any of that stuff. Since she brought it up, what I'm going to say is it's ugly as hell. And it doesn't match anything historical about any part of Bisbee. And she only uses it. You know, the only real purpose it seems to serve is to hang her signs on, which are illegal. It's just used for illegal signage. And I just bring up, which I'm sure is not probably pertinent, but something Yvette mentioned earlier about the porch, something about, I don't know anything about this, but balconies and porches should be 2 feet from the property line. I don't know, whatever, but that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. If everyone can mute themselves if you're not speaking. Thank you. Great, so I'd like to now open this up to the board to discuss or ask Cynthia questions or ask Andrew questions, seeing as he's a neighbor.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say I'm in full support of the railing. One, it meets our design criteria. We're not here to determine all the factors that have been brought forth tonight. We're just simply here to determine whether or not the fencing that's been installed, the railing that's been installed, meets our codes. It does. I'm in full approval of it, and I think we should move on from this issue.
Thank you, Sean. Any other comments? Linda, you?
I have a question. Is that parking area Cynthia's property?
Hello, Linda. Are you asking about the part? Was that you out there today taking a picture with your mask on?
That was me taking pictures, yes, because it's evolved a lot since the last month.
Great at a mask. Okay, so the property that you took a picture of where it says permit parking only and the white lines and the X, this is not part of this discussion right now, but yes, we, Bisbee Vogue Inc., not Cynthia personally, bought with board approvals for $7,500 that spot that you saw marked from Peyton because she didn't need it, she didn't want it, and we needed some sort of parking for our inn upstairs. And so that's why it's there. It belongs to Bisbee Vogue Inc. And I can tell you we pay $87.53 or something like that taxes. And yes, it's our private property out 6 feet from our fence is 1 foot from our fence is ours. 5 more feet belongs to the city of Bisbee. And then the next, I forget, I think it's 14 or 15 or 17 feet going out almost into the middle of the street belongs to Bisbee Bogey.
So the question I had, you just mentioned one of the parking spaces because 2 of them have been X'd out. It says private parking. It's all painted road now.
Our spot is a spot and a half. It's like, I can't remember the dimensions now, but it's something like a normal parking spot and is somewhere between 8 feet and 9 feet, depending on the city statutes and codes. And I'm not even sure if Bisbee has ever
Should be 9.
Were your 9 here?
It should be 9. I don't know. Ben, you would know better with the.
Well, it's wider. It's as wide as Cynthia's if it's wheelchair accessible. Then
it can be 8 or 9, or it can be bigger for certain kinds of vanny type things or whatever. So our spot happens to be like, as I recall, like okay, it's like 14 feet or 15. It's a space and a half to be exact. It's much more than 1 parking spot. It's almost 2. As I recall.
Yeah, I can see it. It's 1 and a half.
On its merit. So it's bigger than a parking spot. It's a spot and a half. And the city owns the spots to the right, and then Peyton owns everything to the left. I mean, except that all of us, both Peyton and ourselves, have this issue with the city of Bisbee owning inaccessible 4 to 5 feet from our sidewalk or from her railing, our railing to out in the street. It's kind of one of those old Bisbee problems that hopefully will get, negotiated if that whole area gets rebuilt, which I hope the city is going to entertain. The dangerous intersection, actually, right there.
That was one question. The second question I have has to do with signage. There's signs on the fencing. They're all different. Private parking, then there's the wheel stopper that has a red handwritten permit parking only or hand painted. Right. And then there's a handwritten parking for BVI only hanging on there. I mean, it's not.
The idea behind this is to tell people when they pull in. It's like the permit parking only means to some people, like especially if they're from a big city or a university town, permit parking means, oh, I shouldn't park here. It says private parking on the outside of the spot. It says permit parking on the handwritten.
I understand that.
Right.
The question I have is, was there a sign approval on this? I mean, there's 3 completely different signs. It actually doesn't look very good.
Okay, well, you know what? It was done at the time because of infringement by people, but we need to clean up our signage. I completely agree with you. I just really haven't.
I'd like to call this to order. This is not about signage tonight. This is about a railing. So if there's an issue with
question
to go on a
different. That was my question if signage was even part of this. Okay.
Right. Okay, Linda. I'll get on that though. Thank you for the suggestion.
No, you thank you for that. I totally get a 5-foot weird space between your property and right in the middle of your property. I totally get that. I've got one of those.
It's a whole sewer thing, actually, where our sewers all connect.
Sean, you had something to say?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Wait. Before you make it, I want to make sure that nobody else on the board had anything to say. Just trying to keep things in order.
Stephen Green coming in. Regarding this application, which is seeking retroactive approval for something that's been done, I think we need to realise that no application was ever made, and increasingly several requests for a response regarding this have been ignored by this applicant. And I think we should just disapprove it. I don't think it's not allowed, and it should be disapproved, and we should use our powers to make sure that it's put right. Otherwise, we'll get other people come along and try and rough road over our authority.
Well, excuse me, but in fact, Nobody ignored anything other than there was COVID and our
I'd like
office
to call a point of order. The board is discussing at this moment.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
This is true. Okay. Peter Gapfer, did you want to add anything?
No, I tend to side with my countrymen that it's an unfortunate situation. I don't really think that I have no objection to the aesthetics of the fence. The reason for the fence I'm still not convinced of, and I tend to side with Mr. Law's objections. Yes, I agree that any sidewalk you can break an ankle on. You don't have to fall off a cliff to injure yourself. But I can't see why this particular situation is any different from miles of sidewalks within the city of Bisbee. So I would either abstain or I would vote against the motion. But I'm not saying that the fence is bad. I think it's probably outside our purview to make any other comments. So if we're voting on just the pure aesthetics of the fence, that's one thing. If we're voting on something larger, then I don't think it's our purview, and I would vote against it.
I'd like to just make an observation on that thread of thought is that Cynthia did reach out to city staff, Public Works Director Jesus Haro directly. I would say it was Jesus Haro's mistake not to tell Cynthia to apply to the DRB. He should have done that. He didn't, and that probably confused Cynthia. Cynthia can talk for herself if you want to reply to that, but that's if I was talking to city staff and asking permission to do something and I gave it, I would probably think that's all I needed to do if that city staffer didn't then say, oh, well, actually, you need permission. You need to talk to Joe Ward, or you need to talk to Teresa, or you need to just apply. You should have done that. That said, Jesus Haro is not educated on DRB rules or even what the DRB does at all. So maybe he should be educated on that.
Well, if I have permission to speak,
Sure.
I will just say, not to throw Jesus under the bus, but those of us who've been actively working on multiple projects for, in my case, 35 years and been on numerous boards, including one like this, and now I'm on Streets and Infrastructure where I get to work with him. I find him extremely professional and informative. And I think when this happened was COVID came along right after our sewer broke and we were rebuilding all kinds of parts right there in this area. And that led to the fencing need because the driveway got put in by his permission with an ROW. We paid our $50 2 times or 3 times or however many times we had to pay it. Right-of-way permit, for those who may not be familiar with ROWs, it took me forever to remember that. So we paid our numerous ROWs. And so in that whole interaction over 2+ months, the conversation I remembered at the time was, hey, I want to put this railing up because now we put this driveway in and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, it seems fine to me. And so, yes, I think there was, it kind of like Donna, sometimes those of us who've lived here a long time, we don't remember the committees and commissions. And I, who have served on many of them, feel apologetic for that. It'll never happen again. You know, so what can I say? I'm sorry. I live over here in Warren. You know, we don't have a DRB.
Hours.
Okay, thank you. So have all the board members spoken? Want to make any additional comments?
Ben, I don't think I used my 3 minutes.
Andrew, public comment is over.
Well, somebody needs to counter some of her lies.
Public comment is over. You can write an article in the paper. Thank
Great.
you.
That'll work.
Okay, so any committee comments? Okay. All right.
No, I'd like.
Seeing none, Sean, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah. In light of my fellow board members and the things that they presented, I would like to make a motion to deny application 20-96.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Stephen Green.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I think that's, well, 9 will get it. Any opposed?
Nay.
I oppose it.
I oppose it.
2 opposed. So I guess that makes 5-2. Motion fails. Or application fails. So.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, Cynthia.
It's all right. There's still a city council and a court of law, so thank you very much for your attention.
There are other things that you can do, yes.
Not coming down, I guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so I'll find out who goes first, the council or the court. But
I think, well, then Teresa, if you can weigh in, but there's another board of corrections, I think it's called. Board of Adjustments.
Yeah, we'll figure
So
out.
that's the next
It's
step.
Board of Appeal or Board of Adjustment. If you contact Nina, she'll get you on the right track.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Yeah, lots of people do that, so you're more than welcome to. Okay. Next, item number 3, application 2097, significant property, BI3, located at 100 Quality Hill. Applicant Bisbee Vogue, Representative Cynthia Conroy. I do believe that there's somebody here to speak on this item. Cynthia, you're welcome to have that person speak if you want, or you can introduce this one.
Right, I'd like to introduce to you all Anthony, better known to us as Tony Underwood, the deacon of the St. Patrick's Parish, the Catholic Church.
Well, thank you, everybody. I've learned a lot tonight witnessing all of the different applications and discussion. It's been a long night. I would like to also say that I've been negligent in getting to know you folks. So I'm going to have to try to work on that this coming year. And I would extend an invitation to you whenever you can to come to St. Patrick's so that maybe we can talk through some of the work that we do here as trying to be a very good community partner, not only with the city of Bisbee, with the different merchants and businesses here. We really do pride ourselves in being a good community partner, especially with Cynthia here in Bisbee Vogue. In particular, because we're going to be talking about it, is the ball court and the wind screens. We've got some good plans in place for usage of that space, and it's going to help us to be a good community partner by providing some wonderful sporting activities to the families of the Bisbee community, where they can come and enjoy some wholesome, safe family sports with their families. We're looking forward to that, and we're just hoping that we can see this continue on so that what we're planning can one day come to fruition. So I appreciate all of your thoughtfulness, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask or to pay me a visit here at St. Patrick's. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Deacon Tony.
You can just call me Tony.
Okay. Cynthia, you're muted.
Okay, so I'll just take a quickie here to say, when we first put these screens up, they were green and they were ugly. And so a lot of people got upset about how ugly they were. So a lot of cost to Bisbee Vogue Inc., $3,000 to be exact. We replaced them with the beautiful screens that are there now. And to my knowledge, almost all, except for one neighbor who claims and a few who agree with that neighbor, or whatever, it blocks the view of the church. Now, Tony, of course, can speak to this, or anybody can speak to this issue. I've gotten calls from numerous people who say, thank you so much, one being the court. There are judges who have looked down on that space for years, and they have called and said, thank you for improving the view out of the window of the Superior Courthouse. I've gotten comments from people, it's like, hey, what's going on back there? We'd like to know. And then I've gotten comments, and this is the best, and this is literally probably 5 or 6 out of 10 people. What screens? I mean, these are people walking along the street, be they tourists or people who used to tell me how much they hated the green screens. And I said, I know, the winter's here, the COVID's here. I can't replace them yet. We're looking, we're going to get this fixed. So they were ugly. They are now beautiful. And not only my opinion, but 90% of the people I've talked to. Now, of course, that's not everybody. And it's certainly not the little lady who thinks across the street that her view of the church has been blocked when, in fact, her view of the fence has been blocked. And the fence is rather ugly and not even part of, because it's chain link, part of what you all approve or has been approved for years. So the only thing I would really say is 2 things. Number one, I hope nobody was terribly offended by Ms. Conroy stated on the application, the Design Review Board has no authority to review this project. Well, now you're proving that to yourself by the new thing you're introducing, which is an ordinance that will have no impact on these windscreens because they've been there for a year now. And you can't litigate against something that's grandfathered in. The other thing is, it's my understanding that if it doesn't require a building permit, which is what I meant by my comment, then it is not under the auspices of the Design Review Board. Now, many of you are new, not only to the community, would be my guess, but to the Design Review Board. And having been on boards myself, I mean, I don't know how many times, I can't remember what's the authority here, what's the question? And so you mitigate between people who are irate or people who want something different. And then you have all of your individual aesthetic commitments, for which I thank you and bless you. But the point is, if it doesn't need a building permit or isn't in code, you have no authority. And that is why I made the comment. And that is why Tony and I have built a project that if you look at the bigger picture, because your other thing that you state is, we want to improve and encourage uses leading to the conservation or rehabilitation of blah, 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 blah spaces within the historic district while allowing for a vibrant, creative, and livable community. These $3,000 worth of windscreens, and they cannot be taken down for under $500 to $700 and put back up. So if you have someone who wants to dedicate the city of Bisbee $700 so we can take them down and then hold an event every other weekend and put them back up, that would really work. But the point is, it is the epitome of the ridiculous to think that windscreens can be taken down and put back up for events. They cannot. They can be put up at a great cost, and they can either interfere and be ugly like the green ones were, where everybody got up in arms, or they can be beautiful and enhance the colors and draw your eye towards that gorgeous church. And more importantly than that, create within that ugly prison-like parking lot where I have spent hours and I have put on numerous events for 25 years in partnership with this community. There is no longer a prison feeling inside that fence. There is a safe, warm, lovely, including all the murals that we've built. Please come look at it, because when COVID goes away, we will be having many, many events for families and children in this safe environment that we have created with windscreens. So I don't know what else to say. You haven't been inside it because nobody's called me to go inside. I'd be glad to give you a tour of the inside of the parking lot. Also, we left a 6-foot window so that people can see the difference between the view that was there when the ugly prison-like fence had to be looked through to see the church. So you can go look at that on the corner, that 6 foot we left. We also left it because the church likes to hang their own signs, and we wanted them to be able to do that because it's very difficult to hang signs otherwise on this area. So BVI has over 20 years spent almost $15,000 rehabilitating in partnership with the church that we all love and admire because it is the heart, it is the center of this community, not only for over 100 years, but in the next 100-year future. And that's all I have to say. It is a beautiful, wonderful, family-friendly space that used to do roller skating and badminton and basketball and family events. And there will be events again, some by us, many by the church, many by other people who rent the space from the Catholic Church. And I don't know what to tell you other than please vote for this so that we don't have to go to court. Because the church loves it. We love it. Tony represents hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of community people who live in Warren, who live in San Jose, and who live in Old Bisbee. So, you know, you are not just an Old Bisbee committee. You are a city committee. And I'm telling you, this city project is approved by most citizens of Bisbee. Sorry, I get a little irate.
Okay.
We bought into this conversation.
Okay. Is that it, Cynthia?
That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay. So we're going to open this up for public comments. Limit 3 minutes each.
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
One second. I would like to, or I will be using a timer, just because it's been a long night. Okay. Yes, Andrew.
Okay. So there are two houses, one the Twee's shop, Tom and Twee, are pretty concerned. You know, they're not happy with that. It does block their view. It blocks the view of their customers. And I don't know why Tom didn't show tonight, but you know, he's been pretty vocal with me about not liking it. So you know, it blocks their view. I mean, you can't just blow that off. And the lady that lives up from there, Sandra Michelle, it blocks her view. She's very upset about it. She's so upset that she doesn't even want to deal with it anymore. She said she fought over it for 2 years, or maybe it was only a year. I don't know, but and now she just feels like it's all hopeless and just, you know. So now, you know, there is something in the, you know, I was involved in the zoning many years ago. I actually passed a referendum to vote on the zoning code, and it went to a vote, and it was a close election. I didn't campaign, you know, but I got what I needed out of it because my main issue was about the design review board. I'm not a big fan of a lot of design review. I think things should be administratively approved as much as possible. So, you know, I'm just throwing that out there that I have some experience here, and that there was at the time, I haven't noticed this, I haven't looked for it, but it does say that appurtenances can go to the design review board. That was put in later after things were taken out that made me happy, but then that was added back in. And so it does say like any appurtenance, which is anything. It could be a rock in your yard, can actually go to the design review board. I assume that's still in there. Okay, so then, you know, I've never seen anyone playing pickleball in there. I'm sure there has been sometime, but it's not a heavily used space. I don't really think it's really used virtually at all. And just coincidentally, I was at the city council meeting where Cynthia tried to get these windscreens up at the pickleball court up at the pool park, and they wanted her to only put them up during the windier months. And that's what they approved. And part of that was because of the things she was getting donated from HED said HED all over them. And that's what she painted out and made it look even hideouser, you know. But now she's gone and spent all this money on ones that don't say HED. She could put those up. She could probably get approval to put those up there and not have to take them down. You know, I'm just thinking maybe. But beyond that, you know, I just don't think $500 to $700 is really realistic to put those up. Two guys could just roll them out across at the pool park. I'm not talking about at the church. But at the pool park
3
where they
minutes.
really need them, they could put them up pretty quick. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other public letters, comments that came in? Seeing none, I would like to say that I know in the past, in many meetings, there were lots of comments against the windscreens and some for, though time has passed, those aren't in front of us for this particular meeting, and I can't remember exactly what those are off the top of my head, so I'm not going to say them. So that's my thing on public comments. Let's see here. So let's go to board discussions. No public comments beyond this point unless you're called upon. And Yvette, you've had your hand up for a while. Did you want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would like to mention a few key points about this. It has gone on, I think, since my first board meeting, so about a year now. I think Cynthia is accurate. We do not have prior DRB guidelines that specifically reference windscreens. I'd like to mention that the pool has windscreens, and that sets a precedent. They've been there for a very long time. The windscreens technically are temporary and could be removed, so they are not permanent. Therefore, I don't think that they're impacting the historic design nature, that we don't have jurisdiction over windscreens to even approve or deny. I think that they have compromised by taking down the old windscreens and trying to put up something that is more acceptable and that blends in to the natural environment. And I also feel that if Mr. Laws is able to mention all of these other individuals who are unhappy with the windscreens, then they should take the time to email, write, call, or show up for this meeting to speak for themselves against the windscreens. In closing, I know that you probably have to hear other discussions, Mr. Chairman and board members, but I would make an approval to approve the windscreens if we are in fact authorized to do so at this stage.
Oh, we'll make a motion after everyone talks. Everyone on the board has a chance to speak.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Sean.
Sure. All right. First off, Deacon Tony, I want to thank you for your service to the community and everything that you're working to do. It shouldn't go unnoticed. Unfortunately, we're here with the situation that we're trying to address that's gone on for, as Yvette said, for well over a year. This started out a year ago with many complaints in the community, as Cynthia correctly pointed out. People were in an uproar. It landed on us to deal with. And having said that, I want to point out a couple things. And on every agenda that we get as board members, it says, pursuant to Bisbee Zoning Code, Article 3.5.2.a, the property owner is required to obtain approval from the DRB prior to the change of any building's exterior feature. Doesn't matter whether it's commercial or residential. That's the rule that applies. We all know it. We all live by it. I want to preface that is, whether it is in the DRB guidelines, whether it is not in the zoning code, or whether it is, if you're going to make a change to the exterior of a building or its features, you are supposed to come before the DRB. We made many petitions and requests to the applicants to come before the DRB. Those were ignored. In fact, they were ignored for months at a time. I just feel that needs to be duly noted. I will say that the new screens are an improvement. We've made leaps and bounds from where we were. Thank you to Cynthia, and thank you to Deacon Tony for making those changes. But once again, we're still left with the issue of blocking historical landmarks, etc. I am not totally opposed to these screens. My position is that I think they should be removed after each event. And that is keeping with what we're here to do, what we're called to do. We're called to uphold many different historical designations. And I think at the end of the day, I think that makes the community happy, makes St. Patrick's happy. I think it's a balanced approach. It's unreasonable.
Okay. All right, thank you, Sean. Sir, actually, before we do any motions, I would like to say that staff will get a chance to speak before we make any motions. So any other board members want to speak on this?
Yes, Stephen Green coming in.
Stephen.
Yeah, I agree with what Sean said about the screens being a temporary thing for events. And it's not a big deal to remove things like that. It's, if you, I mean, I live right opposite and I see events and they come along and they put up great marquees, tents, and they bring in portable toilets and everything else. And it happens and the event happens and then it all goes away. The screens on the side of the chain link fencing are a minor thing compared with the activities that happen as far as events are concerned. So I think we should make it so that they're available to be put up for events and then taken down afterwards, and we'll all be very happy with that.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else? Scott?
Ms. Conroy, I want to thank you for your enthusiasm. It's been interesting to watch. I do appreciate it. I wanted to ask you specifically, what is the green netting structure that's on the inside of the sports area?
Oh, you're muted, Cynthia. Can you repeat that?
Yes, thank you, Scott, for a question. The green screening was the old screening, and I don't know how long you've been here, but the green was what was put up for the Bisbee 1000 event in year before last, whatever year that was, 2019, because it was donated by the Head Corporation to Bisbee Vogue Inc. So $1,000 worth of screen was donated to us. We put it up, and then and the reason we put it up was because someone, Parks and Rec, would not accept it as a gift for the pickleball courts. So when it wasn't accepted for the pickleball courts, because Cynthia is really good at, if someone gives you a no, there's another way to create a blessing out of this. So then Tony and I started talking about all the kinds of events that could happen in that old recreational area, which was what I was trying to explain before for those of you who are new here. That area where you now see those tan screens, we put the green screens up. I must admit, they were really ugly compared to the tan screens, but they were free. So being, a person who runs a nonprofit, looks at every penny, somebody gives you something for free, you're going to make it work. Well, it didn't work. I heard what everybody said. For years, the design review, quite frankly, at first, Joe Ward came in and said, hey, if you get rid of the ugly head advertising, then these green screens are legal, and we, the city of Bisbee, can't do anything about it. And Tony and I had a meeting with Joe Ward. So that's why it got delayed, where the green screens stayed up longer than they should have. And then finally one day, the light bulb went off, and I said to Tony, we're going to use this permanently. We built all these beautiful murals in here, and they're a sight to be seen. And we're going to do programs, not events. These screens are there for the programs that will happen frequently. I don't know yet if it'll be once a week or twice weekly or bi-monthly, We don't know because we haven't been able to develop programs because of COVID. So we took down the ugly green screens, and the ones you still see inside are just ones where Cynthia hasn't quite been able to throw them away yet, but they're out of sight. We're going to tear them down as soon as I get a man to come tear them down, because I no longer at 73 can do what I used to be able to physically do myself. And so ideas happen, and then physical things happen, and then it takes weather, and then it takes people. And so when the city starts saying, hey, you got to do something about this, I mean, I don't think I even got the letters in any kind of timely fashion. Wasn't ignoring them other than COVID, out of town, sickness, you name it, sewer, the whole fencing thing that you guys just rejected going on in the building area. The screens, everything, you know, everything finds its time in its own time. So the green, Scott, is something that's going to completely go away, except right now it's on the inside where nobody can see it unless they're inside. And that's what that is. And the tan is the magnificent part that the Board of Bisbee voted to replace the green with the color that coordinated with the church, so that your eye goes up, you see through the screens, you see the church. And inside will be numerous, not weekend, not weekly, not month, numerous activities for people once COVID goes away. And so that's why the screens cannot come down and go back up, as someone has suggested. And if you think it's easy, well, it cost me $450 and a man almost all day long to put them up properly. So if any of you want to volunteer to take them down and put them back up every weekend, you let me know, because I'd be all for it. Thank you very much. Excuse me if I'm facetious.
No, thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. I do appreciate the brief history lesson. I'm well aware of both colors. It was just my question to you about the green that's still on the inside. It seems to be affixed to a permanent structure. And it is fairly visible standing, well, even in front of your place, to see on the corner there, you can see the green screen.
The church.
Beg your pardon?
Okay, well, the green's going to come down. The little bit of green you see on this slanted poles that are there,
right.
Polling paid several $1,000s because those fences were going to fall down, as Tony knows. And we hired Richard Chavez to reinforce the old metal fencing about 8 or 10 years ago because we couldn't have those fences fall down. Nor could they, so we fixed that. And so what you see with the green is we've created kind of a little storage area. So that's kind of why the green are still there, because if you go inside, and that's the whole thing, the experience of these, it's one thing from the outside, it's another thing from inside the space. As I said, used to look and feel like a prison. Now it feels like an athletic facility, which it really is going to be. It's going to be a fun place for fun parties, athletic events, you name it. And the screens contribute to that atmosphere. And so the green will go away eventually, and something else, when we get it into our budget, will go there, like black or something that you don't see. The green will go away. But it's
okay. Thank you, Cynthia. I do appreciate your explanation.
Thank you.
So I have a comment.
Yes, Linda.
As far as the view that they're missing out on, they're missing out on the back of the church, not exactly really the side or the front. I mean, I guess it depends on where you're at. And I do believe that it's a good community thing, and I see that they changed them out from a different color. To me, I don't understand really what the problem is. I think they look fine. I mean, they did a great job in trying to match the environment. I do know that pickleball's played there, maybe not right now, but it has been in the past. And I know that they were used so that they could play. So they can't really play sports on a windy day. So that's my comment. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they presented this. I'm not exactly sure why this is on the DRB based on zoning requirements, but I'll just let that one go. So I'm in approval.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Has everyone had a chance to speak? I'd like to open it up to staff comments.
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, thank you. So I looked into this for the National Park Service, and through all of their documentation, and they have some pretty clear designations that apply on a different scale. We're talking city scale and planning, in which this affects. And they're talking about settings in historic neighborhood districts, and also settings when considering a building site. And they've got 2 columns on this document, recommended and not recommended. So I've highlighted recommended for neighborhood settings. It is recommended that you retain the historic relationship between buildings, landscape features in urban settings. For example, preserving the relationship between a town common area or urban plaza and the adjacent houses, municipal buildings, roads, landscape, and streetscape features. So landscape and streetscape features would include things like the Bisbee Bee, the hills surrounding Bisbee, trees, Iron Man statue, any side of historic building, back, front, side, doesn't matter. And so that's for a plaza. The not recommended column says altering the relationship between buildings and landscape features in a setting by widening existing streets, changing landscape materials, or locating new streets or parking areas where they may negatively impact the historical character of a setting. So in that, we see that's not necessarily things that are listed in DRB guidelines or not listed in DRB guidelines. These are more overall things that affect the character of a plaza. So that's one of the documents. The other one is a building site document. In the recommended column for building site, it says installing protective fencing, bollards, stanchions on a building site when necessary for security that are unobtrusive as possible, unobtrusive. Not recommended is installing protective fencing, bollards, stanchions on a building site when necessary for security without taking into consideration their location and visibility so that they negatively impact the historic character of the site. So that's from the National Park Service, Department of Interior, and those are their guidelines for which the City of Bisbee Historic District is nestled under, and therefore we get our 50% property tax reductions, which many people benefit from. And we benefit from tourism in addition to the businesses around the area. I would like to say that in my sitting around in the area at Thwees, at the cafe, High Desert Market Cafe, that the screen, now the tan screen, does definitely obstruct the view from sitting in that area and looking at the back of the church. And when we're talking about Thwees patio, also interrupts the view of the courthouse from Thwees patio, for which a large part of their people eating on the patio are tourists that come to Bisbee for exactly the architecture and historic nature. So that's my 2 cents as far as that's concerned. Additionally, I would say that the tan screens are a great improvement from what was there before, and I would, just my personal vote, say that it wouldn't be that hard to have them so that the top part of the screen rolls up like a blind or unrolls like a blind, so you don't have to hire somebody for $500 to do that every time. You have something that is rigged on pulleys that flips it up, flips it down. I would be willing to donate from my person some designs to that effect that modify what you've already purchased. I am an architect. I'm allowed to do stuff like that. That would be a personal donation to make that work. If that's of any interest. If not, I totally understand. And it has no bearing on, should have no bearing on anyone's vote. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. I think I'm fine with the screens if they're temporary, and I'd be able to help with that. And that's kind of my 2 cents. Any other board member comments or questions for Cynthia or Tony? Okay.
I just want to make a comment on the rolling issues. I've had commercial ones installed, and they are always maintenance. And they flap. They're dangerous if they start flapping, and if there's people playing and those things are going off, I wouldn't want to be part of that. Just an FYI. I mean, it's very noble of you to provide some options, but I've seen a lot of them go off in windy areas only. And this is pretty windy here.
Yeah, it is windy. Okay.
Yeah, very windy up there at times.
Okay. In regards to the wind, actually, it would. I did see in Marana there was a sports field fence that tipped over because they had a screen just like that on it. And in fact, when these screens are rolled down 95% of the time, it does help eliminate some risk from the entire fence, which has already had to be reinforced once, toppling over in a high wind event, because 95% of the time those screens are down and not loading the fence. So this is my professional point of view on that. So does any committee members want to discuss ideas for a motion? So kind of narrowing the focus of discussion, just not making a motion yet, but just discussing.
Sure, I'd like to make a discussion.
Okay.
Yes, Sean. I think I think the general consensus of the board. I don't think anybody is entirely opposed, and I don't think that we should put forth a motion that entirely does away with screens. I think we have to make a balanced decision here, and I think that balanced decision is to make them retractable in some way. And if we can come together as a community, as Mr. Lepley has brought forth, and find a solution to this, then I think we should make a motion to approve them on a basis for events only, and that they be retractable for when there's non-event.
Okay. Anyone else have ideas for motion? I would support that. Or comments on that motion idea?
I would even support that because the events are daily, 365 days a year. So we'll make that motion. That's a perfect motion. Not funny. Come over.
This is really for the committee members to discuss.
24/7. You can go in.
Cynthia, this is for the committee. Thank you, Cynthia.
Stephen Green. If I can come in here, if you can hear me out. Events would normally have to be permitted, and so permitted events would be the word to put in there. So, you know, you can have an event every day. Yeah, the event, the sun comes up and the sun goes down. That's not an event. An event is some function that happens, that everybody understands is happening, it's published, it happens, and then it's ended. And for those events, the screens can be there. For other events, like the sun coming up and the sun going down, no.
Okay. It is private property, so I don't know. That would be, you know, how we would enforce events, but yeah. Okay.
I'd like to make just point something out that's a possibility. I know we're concerned about the windscreens because it's supposedly blocking a historic building. I'd like you guys to entertain the idea of that fence coming down and there being a request to put up a concrete wall that's tan in color that you can't see through at all around that area. Now, maybe that wouldn't get approved, but it is a possibility that there could be a fence erected that would be green or beige that could cover that entire zone. That is a right that they have to apply for building something and erecting a real wall there to block everything in. And with that in mind, and again, bearing in mind the windscreens at the public pool and the compromises that have already been made and the dragging out of this issue, my personal opinion, unnecessarily at this stage, I would make a motion to approve the windscreens as they are.
Okay, so that's not a motion, that's just an idea for a motion, right?
It's a motion.
Well, my previous request was that we first discuss ideas for a motion before we make a motion. So, which is outlined in the agenda.
And you can have discussion. Yeah, so you do have a motion on the floor nonetheless. So you can request a second, and it could die for lack of a second. You could also, if it gets a second, you can also have.
We could also have what? You're dropping in and out, Teresa.
I thought I made it very clear that we are discussing ideas for a motion and allow all board members to discuss ideas for motion before actually making a motion. So I would say I'd like to restore order and keep this open, and then we will go for a motion. Because I don't think this has happened before, and I don't think it's fair to the other board members to not talk about ideas for a motion first. So, anyone want to second the motion that's on the table? Seeing none, I would like to give anyone else the opportunity to make motion discussion.
I'm sorry, Ben, I didn't quite understand what you just said.
Sean, the motion died for lack of a second.
Correct, and then what did Ben say after?
Does anyone else on the board like to discuss ideas for a motion? And then after everyone's had an opportunity, then I will open this up for an actual motion. So does anyone else have ideas for a motion? Or discussion about the two motions that are, or two ideas that were put up?
I do. Yeah, thank you. I do like the idea of having the screens there for events permitted. If that's if we can do that, great. And having them retractable, that's an idea that I would entertain and see as a success.
Okay. And all right. And anyone else? Okay. Cynthia, you had mentioned retractable being an idea you would support if that motion is made.
Oh, wait a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, and no again. And I will tell you again, you have no authority. You can make all the motions all day long that you want to, but I will repeat, until you pass your new ordinance, which will not affect us because windscreens will not be grandfathered in. We are grandfathered in. Those windscreens are A, on private property. B, the DRB, by ordinance, by law, by code. If it doesn't have to do with a building, we don't have to seek a permit from you. My understanding from every lawyer that I've talked to a couple, you guys can do whatever makes you feel good, but Tony and his attorneys, and Cynthia and BVI and their attorneys are not going to accept you all telling us that this improvement and enhancement we have made, fulfilling your mission, is something you want us to do something with that will not be safe, that will incur costs. It's just not going to happen. But make yourself have fun. I don't know what to say. I'm not speaking anymore because I will entertain nothing but they are there. They have been there. You have no authority to refuse them being there. The church loves them. The participants love them. The events are going to be weekends, all weekends when COVID goes away. I don't know what to tell you all. You know, I'm just hungry. Thank you for your attention and your service, and I'm going to eat my dinner. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to clarify that you weren't making a threat, were you?
I'd like to make a motion, please. Stephen Green here.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we actually deny this retroactive application because we're failing to agree, and the screen should be removed and then an application made to reapply for them.
I'd like to second that motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in favor of denying the motion. All nays?
Nay.
1. Linda, I can't see you. Linda's no longer signed in, or?
No, I'm on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
said
vote?
nay.
Nay. Two nays? Okay. All right. Okay. So actually that'd be five yeas, 2 nays. That's correct. Okay. Agenda item 3 not approved. I would say, leaving this, that there is a Board of Adjustments that you can go for. That's typically the next step.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I make a motion to adjourn?
One more item.
Yeah.
Do
We've got agenda item 4. Approval of meeting minutes, November 18th special session. Edits were done by Ms. Ponte regarding November 18th special meeting. So Yvette, have you made those meeting minute changes? Those were supplied here. Did everyone have a chance to see those edits? Oh, you're muted, Yvette.
I replied to Nana's edit.
Okay.
I thought they were approved at the last meeting, but yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 4, the meeting minutes. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? Seeing none, I would like to open this up for go on to the next item, which is staff comments.
So there is a letter included in your packet. I had encouraged the individual to ask to be on the agenda. They provided their letter too late to be included and did not indicate that they wanted to be included. So that's in your packet.
What was the letter about?
It's from Luke Oldfield.
Ah.
And I don't think, let me see if I can put my finger on it.
It was about like for like.
Yes.
Right. I replied to you, Teresa, Nina, and Ward that I agree with Luke Oldfield's letter, that I'll just paraphrase in my own words, that as a contractor, he's frustrated with things slowing down, and like for like, especially with roofing, applications are not being administratively approved. I would actually agree with Mr. Oldfield in that I think if it is actually like for like, so corrugated for corrugated, it should be administratively approved. But I could be misinterpreting his letter.
Yeah, Mr. Oldfield is not applying. So he's actually thinking that there's no reason for him to apply if he's doing like for like, but there's no way to verify he's doing like for like unless he applies.
Can I speak on this?
Yes, of course.
I am in total agreement of a roofer going in and patching, repairing, because there could be so much more damage inside a home by the time they get a DRB approval. But the like for like, I am not into that, because next door there's a rolled roof next door to my house, a rolled roof, and it's on like a 7/12 pitch, and that's not even code. So I would say no, because there's probably a lot out there, and if you're just replacing like for like, that could be opening up a can of worms.
But if it has to have a permit and it doesn't meet code, then the building inspector would deny it anyway.
That's a very good point.
That is correct.
Stephen Green again. Come in on this. Like back in old England, there's lots of houses there that were built long before there were any building codes or any regulation. And fixing the roof of a property that's been there for 300 years in the same way that it was built before is perfectly acceptable. It's just the way it was. And so, the permitting thing about what you do and how you do it on historic properties is actually of little importance. It just has to be how it was, because it lasted all that time anyway. End.
That's absolutely correct, and that's actually enshrined in the International Existing Building Code, which states as such, which I believe Bisbee's adopted. So.
Well, this is Linda again. I would think that like for like with historic is fine, but like for like with something that's newer and it doesn't work so well, I mean, it's leaving it up to the inspector to make all the decisions. That's up to you guys. I think it's opening up, it's a loophole. But for repairs, absolutely. They need to get that done immediately for the community.
Well, I don't think we can really discuss this much because it's not actually in the agenda. It's just responding to the staff comments. But if somebody wants to make a motion to discuss that further, you're more than welcome to, because that's actually where we are in the course of the meeting, because we're about to adjourn. So does anyone, does that complete staff comments?
Oh my God.
Yes, I'm willing to, we can take up anything else later.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out of here. Not.
All right. Are there, moving on to the next thing, are there any future agenda items?
This is what I'm saying about the solution is the majority of them were saying, okay, fine, we're okay with it. It's an improvement. It's okay. And then Stephen Green, at the very 13th hour, comes in, makes a motion to deny. He gets a second, and then they approve it 5-2. They did that. That is not,
yeah, I can't do
that
anything.
is not okay.
All right. Any future agenda item suggestions? We'll just ignore that.
That's really a violation of the Robert's Rules of Order to all of a sudden Ben was not engaging any motion. He was just discussing the idea for motion. And then all of a sudden Stephen
I can't hear.
Takes it over and that's approved? No. I'm really upset about the way Ben
Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
because
Yeah,
We have a motion.
we're not.
We have a second.
Yes.
Okay, we have a
Aye.
motion and a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All in favor? Any
Good night,
nays?
everybody.
Aye.
Good night.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes. So